In our reporter's notebook, then and now, how much has Cuba changed since the United States restored relations with it? In 1997, our senior Latin America correspondent, Lucia Newman, became the first journalist of a U.S.-based news organization to open a bureau there. She was based there for 9 years. Now she's returned to see what has and hasn't changed. Here are some of her first impressions.
Often what first meets the eye tells you a lot about what's happening behind the scenes.
And one of the things that's very different from the Cuba I knew almost 10 years ago is the number of pre-revolution American cars that are circulating everywhere. Before, they were falling apart. There were no spare parts, and putting in a modern engine was against the law.
Now I'm seeing beautifully restored convertibles everywhere, dusted off and taken out of their garages after more than 30 years, because the government has allowed their owners to use them for driving around tourists. This has really helped our lives, says Alejandro, who studied to be a computer engineer but who now runs a 1954 Mercury. This all-important sector of the economy used to be a tightly controlled government monopoly. Clearly, the communist state has at last decided to free itself of such things such as running restaurants, which are now being allowed to thrive. And so are private rentals. I went to Viñales in western Cuba, where practically the entire town is renting to tourists. And you can really see the difference. The houses are freshly painted, unlike before. Now, the once exorbitant taxes on bread and breakfasts that used to stop these enterprises from getting off the ground have been substantially lowered.
This has allowed a lot of people to improve their standard of living and their homes. We can afford to make repairs now, unlike before.
Of course, this new prosperity is limited. Many people living off the tourist circuit still struggle to make ends meet, especially retirees and people who live on salaries. I went to visit Cuba's Cardinal Jaime Ortega on the day President Raúl Castro was meeting Pope Francis at the Vatican. The Cardinal is still very diplomatic, but most Cubans tell me they never thought they'd live to see the day when their communist leader would say that he might return to praying, a comment he made after seeing the Pope. There are things that haven't changed. The Communist Party continues to have absolute control of the political system and of the media. Access to the internet is a bit better, but still extremely limited. I know that changes in communist Cuba have always been very slow, and in the past many reforms have been rescinded. But this time, for the first time, I sense that change is here to stay, that the government is not easing travel and economic restrictions as a temporary and necessary evil as in the past, but as a necessity that is being welcomed by almost everyone. What I don't know is how fast and how far these changes will go. Lucia Newman, Al Jazeera, Havana.
Well, here's something that could speed things up. Next week, U.S. and Cuban representatives will meet to hammer out agreements to reopen embassies in each other's capitals.